Good Monday morning, everyone, and welcome into today's daily Bible reading for November the 14th. Today we are reading together in Job chapter 40 as we're getting into the second half of God's speech to Job. The first two chapters, 38 and 39, we're focusing on really just humbling Job, letting him know that, Job, you don't understand how the creation in general works. You did not have a part in creating it. I did. I took care of all of that. I have set it in order so that it operates the right way. Job, you just need to sit back and take it all in. Well, here in chapter 40, we're going to look at how Job not only does not understand the way just the creation works, but on concepts such as justice. Job, you don't understand that either. So we're going to look at that here in Job chapter 40, beginning in verse number 1. Get the text up on the screen for us. There we go. Job chapter 40 and verse number 1. Job 40, verse number 1, the Lord answered Job, will the one who contends with the Almighty correct him? Let him who argues with God give an answer. Then Job answered the Lord, I am so insignificant. How can I answer you? I place my hand over my mouth. I have spoken once, and I will not reply twice, but now I can add nothing. Then the Lord answered Job from the whirlwind. Again, a theophany that's taken place here. Get ready to answer me like a man. Gird up your loins. When I question you, you will inform me. Or would you really challenge my justice? Would you declare me guilty to justify yourself? Do you have an arm like God's? Can you thunder with a voice like this? Adorn yourself with majesty and splendor, and clothe yourself with honor and glory. Pour out your raging anger. Look on every proud person and humiliate him. Look on every proud person and humble him. Trample the wicked where they stand. Hide them together in the dust. Imprison them in the grave. Then I will confess to you that your own right hand can deliver. Verse 15, look at the behemoth, which I made along with you. He eats grass like cattle. Look at the strength of his back and the power in the muscles of his belly. He stiffens his tail like a cedar tree. The tendons of his thighs are woven firmly together. His bones are bronze tubes. His limbs are like iron rods. He is the foremost of God's works. Only his maker can draw the sword against him. The hills yield food for him, while all sorts of wild animals play there. He lies under the lotus plants, hiding in the protection of marshy reeds. Lotus plants cover him with their shade. The willow by the brook surround him. Though the river rages, Behemoth is unafraid. He remains confident even if the Jordan surges up to his mouth. Can anyone capture him while he looks on, or pierce his nose with snares? And that is Job chapter 40. The Lord brings the attention back to Job. Remember Job in chapter 31, I believe it is. Chapter 31, he challenges God. He says, hey, I demand an audience with you. I want you to hear my case. I want to get an explanation for why things have happened like they have happened. And the Lord, at the beginning of chapter 38, calls Job to the carpet, and he does so again here. He says, let him who argues with God give an answer. And yet Job doesn't dig the hole any deeper. We'll say that right here at this place. He doesn't dig the hole deeper. He does not retract his claim of innocence. Let's note that. He does not do that. But he wisely does not dig a deeper hole for himself. He just lets the Lord go on without making an argument, which was, I think, a wise thing for him to do. God goes on in verse number 8, says, all right, well, are you really going to challenge my justice? Would you say that I'm guilty of injustice in order to justify yourself? Do you have an arm like God's? Do you have strength like God does? Well, if you do, Job, then hey, go get on your clothing of majesty and splendor. Go get on your clothing of honor and glory. You know, whenever you see something bad happen, you need to pour out your raging anger on that person who is doing the wrong thing. Those who are proud, humiliate them. Go ahead, Job. Go ahead and do that. Whenever you see whenever you see the wicked, trample over them. Imprison them in the grave. Job, why don't you go and take care of the injustice that is in the world right now? Why don't you do that? And when you do, then I will confess to you that you have the ability to even save yourself. Of course, the reality is that he doesn't. And even if he did, Job, do you think you're going to get all the calls right? Do you think you're going to handle justice perfectly? Do you think you'd be able to do that? Well, Job, if you're unsure, well, let me just offer you this challenge. Then why don't you just go look at the behemoth, some great beast of Job's time that he would have been aware of. A number of people have made various different identifications for what the behemoth is. I have no idea what the behemoth was. With certain, it seems to be a very strong beast. We'll just say that. So I think it was a beast that represented chaos. It was dangerous. It was something that men really did not mess with. Verse 19, the foremost of God's work. It represented that which humans just could not control. And it seems as if the Lord's point here in bringing up the behemoth in 40 and then the Leviathan in 41 is to show them, listen, you can't even control these things. You cannot bring these things under control. You cannot discipline these things. And if you can't discipline and control these things, then what makes you think you would be able to handle something that is as grand as justice? Job, you think you can handle justice? Go take care of the behemoth first. I don't think you can. My world, Job, that I've created for you, going back to chapters 30 and 39, it's a good world. It's a beautiful world. It comes with great order. It operates the way I want it to operate. And yet, Job, you need to know that there are things in this world that aren't perfect. Bad things happen. I think that gets back to the reality of sin having entered the world. And Job, there are things in this world that are just wild and dangerous. There are some things that they don't make sense to you, and they're not going to make sense to you, and you're not going to be able to do anything about it, Job. You just need to accept that and learn how to adapt and deal whenever things get difficult. Job, you don't understand why what is happening to you is happening to you. You don't get it. You don't understand why. And it's interesting to know, too, that God never gives Job the answer why. God never tells Job why these things happen. At least it's not revealed to us that he does. So Job really has to rely upon trust and confidence that God is truly in control. And I think as we look here at chapters 38, 39, 40, and we'll look at it again tomorrow in chapter 41, we're going to see that God is in control. And Job doesn't get it. Job doesn't have the capacity to understand about these things. And that's just something he's going to have to deal with. He's going to have to accept and be okay with not knowing. And that's true for us too. There are things that happen in this life that we're just never going to understand why. There are things in this world that we just cannot control. You know what? We can't control the weather. We can't. We can't control when it rains, when the sun shines, when storms come, when storms go. They just happen, and we're just at the mercy of them, and we have to learn how to deal with them and adapt with them. There are things in this world, certain animals that we just can't control. And that's just part of this life. We have to be okay with that. We have to be okay with not being in control. And I know for us, with our American sensibilities, that's something we don't like to think about. We don't like to think about the fact that we're not in control. We love being in control. We're in control of everything as Americans, when in reality, we're in control of so little. May God help us all to learn how to just be okay with that, and to be okay with dealing with the difficulties of life, and allowing those difficulties of life to push us to trust in Him more, and to put our confidence and trust in Him that He's got this, and all things will be good, and so long as God is in control. And I don't think that's changing anytime soon. So I can learn to be content, be at peace, and be at peace. I think Job here within the story is learning that as well. Appreciate so much you tuning into this reading today. Hope you have a great rest of your Monday. We'll look forward to reading again tomorrow. We'll be in Job chapter 41, just a couple more days of our reading through Job. and then we'll conclude there and then begin to read through the Proverbs. We'll just be going chapter by chapter there. I'll probably pick out a couple of Proverbs here and there that I want to focus on for just a few brief thoughts each day. And I encourage you, as we get to the Proverbs, if there's a particular proverb that you really appreciate and think there's a good thought that you have to go along with it, please feel free to share those either on Facebook or YouTube as we go through that. And I'll try to mention every day for you to do that as well if you would like. But thanks again for tuning in. Have a great Monday, everyone. We'll be back at it again tomorrow. Take care and God bless.